We had to wait until after the storm systems moved through before we could bring all this out and set it up today. We had nearly 4 inches of rain yesterday. I think all of it's just pretty much gone except for the overcast and cooler temperatures. But you can see out here where all this water is standing is where all the foot trails run through the woods. And we have made our way back to the mound area today, and we've got some stuff that we are going to put together and try and experiment with. We tried this a few months ago on a little bit smaller scale. But when you're dealing with Bigfoot, everything has to go large. Is that right?
That's right.
So.
I heard bigger than life.
Bigger than life. So with that being said, we thought it was time to break out the big balls.
Oh. That does not even warrant a comment.
All right, so this was kind of a joint effort and a little bit of thought on my part to do something unique with it once we had it here.
Linda and Raymond, thank you.
We have got a huge blue kickball for them out here.
Something durable enough to handle them.
Thought we would go ahead and set up everything back here near the mound today. Got their apples, peanut butter, some Pringles, sausages, moon pies, bananas. Those two big brick looking things are actually oatmeal, molasses, peanut butter. They're just a gigantic cereal bar. I made those last night. Got some jelly beans, popcorn, fresh eggs, and the giant blue ball.
Your buddy will not be still.
And we have been having extreme amounts of communication over here today. But before I turn the camera and show you that, I just want to tell you what we're doing here with this ball. I'm not sure how familiar a lot of you are with forensics and luminol phenolphthalein in particular. But when you spray phenolphthalein on something, if it comes into contact with any types of protein like the oil on your hand or blood, saliva, anything like that, when you shine a UV light on it, those will glow in the dark like a handprint or any type of marks. So that ball was sprayed down with phenolphthalein, and we're going to leave that out here for a while and let them do what they will with it. Hopefully we can find it so we can come back out here at night and use the UV light to shine on it and see what we can come up with.
It worked well and didn't seem to create any aversion the last time, so we've let them know what we're doing, and if they don't want evidence of it, I guarantee that ball will flat disappear.
Let me see that UV light.
Oh. They're everywhere.
Try not to fall down. Alright, there's one bag.
Weird. Come on.
One of them's over there. Alright, that yellow on the log is actually those lichens. Look here.
Oh wow.
You can almost see
It's little.
like a little tiny hand.
It's little.
See if I can get around there without, you can see fingers on it.
It is a little fella. Let me try to
There's another.
smudge, blurb, something.
Of course, you can see how that white on that pickled herring can glows. All right, you got that jar?
Just
It's everywhere on it. Smeared all over the place. There's that big Ziploc baggie that had the moon pies right there.
What was left?
What do you got?
Just, they were right there by the peanut butter jar. And it's just leaves, but look at the pink, like they're saying that, you know, they got the message of what we were doing. I just thought it was odd.
Turn your light back off for a second so this UV light will work. There's some more right there.
Little somethings.
Right there on that limb. I'm coming around you.
Okay.
Stand still.
Log.
Alright, so all of that laying there on the ground are little teeny tiny shreds of paper. And that's what's glowing there. There's another big splotch on the side of the tree. Yeah, I don't see much else right here. I'm going to turn the lights back on. And we have poured footprints. We've collected bits and pieces of hair over the past couple of years. We've had dung samples, just all kinds of things. You name it, we've found it out here over the course of time. These guys are being chatty Cathys today.
Yeah. First turned it on. I hadn't even hit record yet. And I had this sensation of, is that for me? And I really don't want to interrupt him, but he doesn't seem to want to. And sometimes I think we pick up conversation between them also, so. EMF detectors, yeah.
RF meters going off the grid, the EMF detector spiking. They've been chatting up a storm.
They're not far. I've energetically picked up on a few close, about as close as we picked up the eye shine before, but when they're in their essence, it really takes, another one right there, it really takes a defined eye to delineate the difference between pareidolia and their energy, because it is very close, and we had a good breeze, and when the images are not moving but the branches are, I'm pretty sound in feeling like it's them, but if the images move, I chalk it up to pareidolia. That's the only good gauge I have if the breeze is blowing particularly.
Okay, so I've got the microphones attached to the camera I'm holding that we're talking into, and using the microphone on that camcorder to hopefully pick up what they've been saying through the EVPs and let it record all of that. We're going to leave that stand and let them do their thing for a little bit while we walk around and look at some of this flooded woods real quick. And then we'll come back and see if we can't get a conversation going.
And I hope Junior, aka Jonas, Joe, he announced himself early. Sabaz mentioned his name. There was one more that came up. Maybe not, maybe I'm thinking there was. But they that sound they just made is what we associate with. Yeah. But it's fun stuff, the EVPs, and they've taught us that their verbiage is a little different.
Alright, so when we came walking in, Rachel found some footprints in the mud over here. We're going to go check those out.
Find them again.
I'll let you go on up ahead of me so I don't step in where you're trying to see.
Can you show me again, Mama? I hope. Now there's a big one here, and you might be able to catch it. This is one of the big boys. This is the wider toe area, and it comes back into the narrow heel, at least to my eye. There's a small one right there. It's one of the little bits. All right, Mama, show me. There's toes right here. 1, 2, at least 3 that I can see with the leaves. I don't want to move them. They've been trumping all through this. I mean, just recently. But to tell a quick story, Linda had felt Junior making a request for a big blue ball. And originally we were going to wait till closer to Easter just because of weather and different things that were going on, but it seemed like everything was good to go finally.
Alright, now the weather's supposed to be clear for the next 5 or 6 days, so that'll give us a good amount of time to allow them to do their thing and get back out here at night and see if we can find anything.
I don't know if you can catch it from here, Ken. If you step to your right, there's an X. I'll step up to it, but I can see one of the individuals, maybe 2, sitting right by that X. Hang on. I'll walk up to it. It's okay? Had to get my eye back on the X. Right up in here. And there is a whole, I wouldn't say traditional structure, but a whole area built up right there behind that X also.
Yeah, several times through the comments I'll read where someone says, well, why don't they just come out and show themselves in full form? And they have to us at different times. And a lot of times what we're catching is the ethereal version of them, kind of like the shadow form. But if you stop and consider what literally the global ramifications would be if they were to allow that to happen on a big scale.
We have an amazing group of subs, and I feel like the majority are all on the same page of the book and desire the same thing. On a bigger scale, if the wrong person were to get a hold of that information, the world is still not entirely safe for the people yet.
I mean, I'll ask you a question, how many things can you name that humans have touched that they haven't messed up?
True.
I mean, think about it.
Just heard one. The
Yeah,
baby
I just
squeak.
heard a little light whoop back there. But how many things over the centuries have humans touched that they haven't messed up?
It's a shame, but
And we do know that on different occasions, especially over the last 60, 75 years, there have been some that have been discovered and carted away that you and I, as the general public, will never have knowledge or access to.
yeah.
All of that information, just like so many other things that are out there that they let us know just a little bit here and a little bit there, but the powers that be don't want it out there in full force.
Well, and realize
Because that takes the power away from the powers that be.
exactly, because if they acknowledge that, then they also have to acknowledge a lot more. You know, it just becomes its own snowball. And they're not prepared to do that because right now, as long as humans believe that they're all there is, then they will feel subservient to human in that regard as far as authority or, you know, maybe even some of the lessons that are there to be taught, things to remember about ourselves. And it's been the game for eons in the way that Anku shows it.
That big X straight in front of me.
Squeak.
You know, we like to try these experiments sometimes out here just to see how far they are willing to allow themselves to be recognized, noticed, you know, give us little things here and there, little tidbits. But we moved far and away past the point of
The proof part.
proving anything a long time ago.
They've been diligent in allowing us those proof points right there.
Just about
There's
stepped in
toes.
that one, didn't I?
Heel. It takes something with some weight to leave a foot in the moss. I think it's a challenge point because for us as humans, as individuals, we don't require that from them anymore because they have more than shown up in our lives and for us. We also understand responsibly having the channel and working to educate little by little according to what they give, that there are things that we also, I don't know, should or can share to help broaden that perspective and include more people.
As you can see, we've got water running everywhere. Trying to weave my way through here so we can get back around that last gifting tree to show you that. Kind of the reason we didn't bring the stuff back into that area today was because there was so much water. That's the lowest point that runs through here.
Just keeping my eye out for anything new. With the EVP, I feel like it's important to note that they don't need to be right up on the phone or the app to use the EVP, we've noticed. But when they are close, you'll see the EMF detector and the RF unit
Go all the way to the right.
lighting up. Let's see this over here. This is interesting.
That's its whole little structure there.
Yeah. A lot have asked us, if you're new, if you've been with us, you've heard some of the information, but a lot have asked about the structures, and I feel like they're kind of multi-purpose, but honestly, I believe they're designed per individual in order to, let's say, house is the word I'm given, their energy. It's very interactive with nature as far as trees, as far as limbs, and it enables them to maintain their essence versus their physicality.
Well, I know a lot of you are curious about all of that electronic running back there, so I think we'll walk on back and spend some time with that, and then we'll show you the soggy bottoms on the way out today. So how many of you are familiar with the term scrying, S-C-R-Y-I-N-G, or water gazing?
Mm-hmm. Some traditions like gypsies, for example, would have used the crystal balls and things like this, but it originally started with water, including Nostradamus and how he pulled from that energy to see. And if you,
Water is a great conductor of all things energetically, but gaze it into a bowl or gaze it into a pool of water, still water. Sometimes you can see reflections or images coming back.
if a person's water element, their emotional body is really strong, it works extremely well for them. And something I've noticed is if the people are sitting close to water sources, you can often also pick up on the reflection of them in the water, and it's kind of backward because it's like any reflection, but often very clear in their feature.
Well, as we were walking up, I could see that EMF meter spiking all the way to the right from back here.
It was actually really loud for a little bit. It's still going. I've noticed the strength of the voice in the same way that their essence has its own vibration. Their voice too has a certain carry tone, pace. Is that the word I want? Like a rhythm. And some have said that the EVPs sound like they're speaking backward, but they're not. What we've noticed is we have to, oftentimes it gets transposed into E, which is a different key altogether. In order for our ear to be able to hear it correctly, it gets transposed into E. Anku had recommended D at one point and slowed down. It's just about vibration, speed. Their verbiage does sound a little bit backward. We've sometimes called it Yoda talk because they will change where the verbs and nouns and things like that are versus the way we use them.
Well, it went quiet once we got close to it. Are you guys still here?
Are you still here? You don't have to be still. Are you listening in? Joe, you announced yourself right away this morning. What do you think of the ball? Are you willing to tell us? I know you're not shy. They must. I must need to put my
I'm
ear
going to
to it.
have to depend on your ears to hear that because
What?
mine are about shot.
Yeah, I need to be closer. Are you happy with it? A simple yes? I'm sorry, are you happy with the ball? I feel like they're studying it. It's the biggest one you've had out here. Who's with you, Joe? They must be a lot closer than they were. I'm having trouble hearing it from this angle. Oh, that's something else I've noticed is they will spell words if they're not sure how to pronounce them, which is really fascinating. Earlier they were saying UFAE or something like that, and I'm not sure what they were referring to. I heard Joe there. I hope you like it. A lot of trouble went into getting you these goodies. But it's pretty impressive when you can communicate with individuals the way you do. You must be practicing those man skills you're getting.
I wanted to show everybody this back here on top of the mound. Now, we have never brought a panda bear out here, ever.
I think we were filming one.
And we were doing a video for Rachel's channel, And this was back here on top of the mound.
Lily. The bear we brought Lily was just a small white Dinkin, bear, and it completely disappeared. I have no idea where she took it off to. But this one showed up, and it's been moved because I left it in the center of the mound.
And that's the way with so many things out here. Things will appear that we haven't brought, and things that we've brought will disappear. Sometimes they'll show up months or a year later, other times not at all.
We've had people ask if they can pull things from, say, I guess you would call it an ether space, and yes, they can. A lot of objects have materialized. Somebody's been messing with it. But this is Lily's. It's almost like it's holding this. It's pretty wet right now. But I loved it with the heart. I'll keep it right where she's got it. But it was over here.
Yeah.
Right in
there.
Right in there.
And there's that pillow. One of those pillows that you had left back here a year ago.
In our Pina's area. Now, we had brought some stuff. And occasionally they kind of give us direction to go to one area or another. So whether that's preferential to where they feel safest. And funny enough, they left that pillow right on the edge of where that water would reach. Not any closer.
Now, you guys remember the last video, we brought the stuff out and we sat it over here at Sobe's log.
Yep.
I see a couple of little wrappers on the ground, but everything is gone.
The rocks, there's 2 rocks still there. Once they place something anywhere, we try to leave it. Unless it's just flat out trash or damaging to nature. We usually pick up the extra plastics and things. We could check this waterway out for feet, but I don't know.
That phenolphthalein that's sprayed on the ball, they're familiar with it. We used it the time before, so it shouldn't be any surprise. Of course, we've talked about it standing out here today, so there's no secret to them. They either will or they won't.
Not seeing a lot back here. Maybe. I don't know. I'd be afraid to say. But a lot of really pushed down areas in this moss. This has always felt like a well-traveled and popular hangout for them. It's only been this year that we've really started exploring it more because it also felt very nursery. And I think the babies have gotten big enough now that it's not a real threat. Plus, we've established a working relationship, yes.
Well, Well, I think we'll collect this stuff up and go show them the soggy bottoms.
Heard check something. Once in a while, we've heard that on EVP. One point they said, check the Great One, check the, I want to check the darkness also or something, and what it seemed like they were saying was check the sunlight, the Great One. And they are very dependent on the sun. But part of that is in the reflectiveness of their hair, it helps to enable them to maintain their essence, because then we're not really seeing, they're reflecting that light. So when they're in the shady areas, then they're going to show more in their shadow, or even full form if they're not very careful. So they do really monitor everything in their environment, everything. Well, Joe, Sabaz, babies, Mama, everybody that's here, thank you.
Well, let us collect this stuff up and we'll be back in just a second.
Not yet.
Not yet.
He likes to talk. Not yet. Something, Joe.
All right, well, do you want us to let it run while we do the other part? All right.
Okay. I almost get the sense of him saying there are others that want to practice it.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's turn the camera off that I'm holding and we'll go over to the soggy bottoms and we'll film a little bit over there and we'll let this run and maybe they'll...
I had my head turned wrong, so I didn't catch all that.
All right, so I'll bring that camera up to full screen and we'll see what we see. We just made our way across Skunk Island. The base of these twin pines, there's a seat area right here that's all pressed down.
And then a big butt here. This is smaller. This feels like one of the young ones. But they've sat here, I think, and just picked bark.
Well, what else you gonna do?
I think we need to all be satisfied
with where we are and what we're doing.
Here's a foot. There's toes up here. This is a left foot. And it's a female. It's wide and it's smaller. I call Miriam. Could be Lily. One thing we have noticed is their personalities really have exploded in the last number of months with comfortability. And I think it's reflective of our own comfortability. We've always felt safe. I mean, we've never really had fear. But in the ease of communicating, realizing more and more every day who they are, I feel like they give more and more every day of who they are.
Well, this actually isn't as bad as what I thought it was going to be back here.
Not too terrible. I'm sure the water's noisy on the video.
Yeah, we've seen it before when the water was all the way up around the gifting tree.
Yeah, it's pretty deep right here. I may have to go a little left here. My boots aren't as tall as yours. There we go. Something is different over by that structure. Feels like more land. That used to be all built up. And then it feels like somebody was wrestling around and landed. Here's another one. It's also female, I think. The toes are up here. They're just... That one's not as fresh as some of those we first found.
Alright, well, let's go collect our equipment up, and we'll have a few days to let them do what they're going to do, and we'll come back and bring the UV lights and
see what we see.
Appreciate you guys tagging along today. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you farther down the trail.
Thank you. Bye-bye.